Hello and welcome to the Future is Bilingual podcast. My name is Heather. This episode is coming out right before Valentine's Day, and in celebration, we wanted to bring you terms of endearment from different languages across the world. This episode is just for fun and it's not serious, but we do sincerely apologize for any mispronunciations or misrepresentations of different terms. So please take it with a grain of salt, and we hope that you enjoy the episode. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Future is Bilingual podcast. My name is Heather, and today we're going to talk about terms of endearment. And I didn't want to make a fool of myself all by myself, so I've invited my co-host Marcin here with me today.
Hi, everyone. Yes, my main task today is to make a fool of myself.
With me, to make me feel better. So Valentine's Day is coming up, and we thought this would be a good topic and an interesting topic because languages use terms of endearment very differently. So we should preface this whole entire episode by saying we're going to mention languages that we don't speak at all.
And more, even to increase the difficulty, some languages that we don't hear at all, like haven't heard at all, and only have seen in print.
Exactly. So we apologize in advance if we have misinterpreted or mispronounced anything that we are going to say today. I did put out a request on Instagram if anyone wanted to record themselves saying some terms of endearment and send them in to me. So hopefully we'll include some of those. But of course, there's still going to be examples where we're going to be giving the example. And if we've said it wrong, we apologize. Okay, so the first language that I want to talk about is Japanese. And this is because I put out a request to the Polyglot Conference forum, which is still up. They helped us with the last time we recorded. What did we record about?
Cognates and false friends.
That's right. So I went back to that same group of people because they helped us out a lot. And I said, give me terms of endearment in your language or any language you speak. And Takashi was the first one to respond. He's Japanese. He wrote to us in perfect Polish. And I didn't even realize till after. I was like, oh, he wrote that in Polish. But of course, I shouldn't be surprised. It is the Polyglot Conference. But his response was that they don't have these words in Japanese. And that was just like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
So he said, we just call our partner by their name. And that was kind of interesting. That intrigued me. So I did a little bit more research and I found someone that gave a longer example. So this is Kosuke Kawaguchi, just some random person on the internet, but I want to give him credit. So he just gave the example of somebody named Natsuko Yamamoto. So if he met her, he would use her last name. So Yamamoto-san, using the san to show respect, which would then maybe, as he got closer, if he was a school friend with her, he could say Yama-chan. So that's a more informal suffix. Then if they got even closer, he could go to her first name, Natsuko-san, still with the san. And then the final step, if they became really good friends, would be to use a cuter name like Nachi. So I thought that was just an interesting example because it's so different from how we even address people in English to begin with. We don't have this. We don't use Mr. and Mrs. You guys do in Polish still, but not. I wouldn't say not among young. Do young people ever say pan pani?
In a professional situation, that would happen, but yeah, not in a schoolyard. But it was like even though Polish is formal, more formal than English, but maybe not as formal as Japanese. But it was still quite an adjustment to adapt to, especially like if teachers would say like, yeah, just call me by my first name. And you're like,
it's weird.
And there are people who I still can, if they're some Polish people who I still cannot call by their first name, even if I'm like an adult now, an actual adult. And I will still just say pan or pani and not just use their name, even if they told me a million times to not use pan or pani.
Yeah, it's ingrained in your in your head. And this person also gave an example which I found interesting. So if you were going to say like my love, like we would in English, he said I'd come up with another name altogether, and like they would have like a secret name for each other, and they would only use it when they're alone, so that like nobody else would hear the secret name. And I was like, whoa, this is like bringing it to another level, but I
I
like
really
it.
like that. Yeah, I
Me
really
too.
liked it too. That there's that level of intimacy
Exactly.
that you don't get if people are, um, like we're much used to a much more open society where people are um, displaying affection in public. So there's such a big difference if you
Yeah.
have these special names just for each other that you only use in private.
And I think we often think about showing affection as like the physical, like touching, kissing, hugging, but I've
Yeah.
never thought about it really with like the words we use. But
Mm.
I guess I have sometimes, because in America you sometimes have people call you honey, and like it can be weird and kind of
Yeah.
cringy. Like at the store they're like, okay honey, and you're like, I don't even know you. So
Yeah,
I,
it's always hard for me when people, I obviously know they don't mean anything by it, and it's not like I dwell on it for the rest of the day, but it's still like,
yeah,
why,
it's
how did
a little
this?
uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's a slight cultural difference.
Yeah. So I wanted to start off kind of at one end of the spectrum with that example of a culture that really doesn't, they don't use them. And if they do, it's going to be like very private. So it's
Yeah.
not like common words that everybody says. Um, and then the second point, just before we got started, diminutives. So things like ito, ita in Spanish, you can just make a word sound cute. And then in French, you can kind of do it with like a and et, but it's not as common, I would say, as saying like petit, like bon
I
petit,
remember
whatever.
my French teacher like gave me a really weird look when I asked her if a French couple, if it's like a Mr. Petit, and would the
Mm,
wife say, Madame Petite,
mhm.
and she looked at me weird, like, no, why would you ever do that? It's like, well, in Polish they do.
Yeah. So, as you guys know, and if this is your first time listening, maybe you don't, but Marcin and I, Marcin is a native Polish speaker, and I'm married to a Polish speaker. So we're going to talk a lot about Polish.
Mhm.
So excuse us if that's boring. But as you'll
We hope it's
see,
not.
no,
Yeah.
we hope it's not. And Polish has a very rich system of doing diminutives. So,
Yeah. So the diminutives in Polish are very interesting because you can just about create them on the spot, and you can keep creating them and just keep churning them out. So one interesting example of a term of endearment in Polish is the word for frog, żaba,
mhm,
but you normally wouldn't use it in that form. You would usually make it into diminutive, but then you can also be creative, because you could say things like żabko, żabciu, żabeczko, żabenko, żabuniu, żabusiu, and on the other end of the spectrum, you could make it augmentative and say
mhm,
jabolu, which the first however many examples that would be for a woman. You would call
mhm.
a woman like all these terms for a little frog,
Could it be for a kid
whereas
too?
I don't know that I've heard it used for
Java?
kids as
Oh, I've
much.
heard my sister-in-law used it with her little baby, but it was a girl.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess
Japchu. Yeah.
you probably could for a boy too.
Hmm.
um I guess because I haven't, it's not on my radar.
Hmm.
But what's interesting is that the augmentative, the jabolu, it sounds so much like brzydolu or brzydalu, which means like calling somebody ugly.
Hmm.
But it can be used for a man, and perhaps because the frog turns into the prince, or maybe
Hmm.
in the stereotypical way, like the man doesn't have to be like so pretty, quote
Oh,
unquote. So you could say jabolu. But yeah, so
yeah.
yeah, you could make them diminutive and augmentative, and there are so many examples of that.
Hmm. And I see that I'm missing some of my notes, but I did find while I was researching that Portuguese, which I don't speak, but they have an augmentative. And I remember reading about it. It was like you can make your, like the word friend, I think they used like you can make it cute, but then you can also make it like big friend, which means like, I care about you more, like you're my big
Oh,
friend.
interesting.
And yeah, somehow these notes didn't make it into our
Into the
um,
final
into the
form.
final draft. So I apologize. I wouldn't have pronounced it correctly anyway, but Portuguese speakers know what I'm talking about. If you're learning Portuguese, look up the augmentative, because I've never heard of that idea of like making something seem bigger. We usually talk about diminutives, making it seem cute and small.
Hmm.
So that was something new that I learned. And also, I want to talk about English because English can vary from country to country. We're speaking with, the American accent. So we really know only those terms. And we're not going to teach you all the American terms of endearment.
No, and I wouldn't. I'd run out very quickly.
Yeah.
Of,
And
of the
also,
ones I know.
if you're listening to this podcast, you must speak pretty good English. I know I talk really quickly, but I did find some interesting examples that were just different from country to country. The first one, well, my family, my dad's side of the family is from South Africa, and my grandma always called us poppet, and I didn't know if she was saying puppet, like with a U, but I guess I found the term. It's poppet with an O. I don't even know what that means, but that's what my grandma always called us. She's, oh, puppet, come here.
Yeah,
So,
I've never heard that term.
no?
No,
Yeah.
like unless you're talking about with a U puppet, but
hmm
but yeah, not with an O.
Yeah.
So another example is that in Australia, people will call each other possum, which I guess well, we think of a possum in a very specific way in the northeast of the
Yeah.
United States, but I know Australian possums are different, but I don't know if they're I guess they're cute, like a lot cuter, because I don't think we would ever think of using possum as a
No.
term of endearment.
Yeah. And then in England, mostly the same, but they will say just love on its own, like not my love, but just love, hand me that, whatever.
Mhm.
Pet, which, yeah, we wouldn't say that. And then duck, that one surprised me. I'm
Yeah,
not good at accents, so I'm not really going to try and do them in the British accent, but duck seemed kind of interesting to me. Hey,
yeah,
whatever.
but in Polish we use frog, so what can
Yeah,
we
you
really?
can't judge.
Yeah, and then in England and Scotland, people will use we as a diminutive.
Yeah,
So in front of
just a wee
uh,
lad,
yeah, a
just a
wee
little
lad.
boy.
Yes, and that way, because in English we don't really do diminutives by alternating the word itself.
Right.
So that's one way we get around it.
hmm Okay, so we're not going to focus on English anymore. Sorry. There's probably a podcast out there that can focus on English. So we're
Yeah.
more interested in all the other languages and kind of comparing. So we're going to tell you what the word is and then what it means, because, sometimes it's going to be funny. All right.
Yeah.
So classic, start us off.
The most classic we'll start is mi amor in
Mhm.
Spanish, or you could say mon
Mon
amour
amour.
in
Mhm.
French,
Or
or
habibi in Arabic.
or hubby, right?
Hobby. Mhm.
Yeah, which I
Yeah, so
couldn't say.
hobby comes from the verb to love, and then habibi as well from the verb to love.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's kind of the first classic one, my love. Or similar to that, mon chéri, ma chérie, darling, or cariño
I
for the
like that
Spanish
one.
version. Yeah,
Cariño.
I like cariño.
Yeah,
That's one of my favorite Spanish words, actually.
sounds really nice. Cariño.
Mhm.
And then you could say in Polish, you could say kochanie,
I
or
overuse that.
you can use that for whether it's your partner or your kid. I think for just about anyone, and it means sweetheart or darling.
Right. Yeah. And we were talking before we started recording that it comes from the verb to love, kohach, which is similar to the Spanish verb querido or querida, which comes from querer, to love. So that we kind of just lumped them together just to kind of have our notes
Yeah.
have some sort of order to them.
And then one of my favorite examples in our list is from the language of the Ottawa people, of the Native Americans.
Mhm.
But I've only seen it written and never seen a pronunciation guide, so we apologize for that. But it's Gdab,
Mhm.
which we have spelled as GDAB in our notes.
Mhm. Yeah.
Which also means beloved.
Right. So I'm sure there's many more examples if we had done maybe more thorough research to find some more Native American languages. Alas, next time we'll have to dive deeper. We do have a lot of notes for you guys though, so don't worry. All right, the next two are in Korean, so I'll do my best. Ainin, which is sweetheart, and the one I've heard a lot more is yobo. So even my husband knows what this one means, because when I was learning Korean, I would always call him yobo, just as a joke.
Yabo. Okay.
So yeah, the first one is sweetheart. The second one's like darling or honey. And from what I understand, both of those are like gender neutral. So you can use them with either.
Oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yabo.
Yeah, just like honey, you could use that with either person.
Mm-hmm. So the next set of words we have starts with Russian, and it's жизнь моя,
Vida,
vita mia.
hayati, and ya omri. So all of those words mean my life. The last one, ya omri, also means age. The word omra is for age, but they use it in the sense of like my life because, your age is kind of how long you've lived. So those are related.
Yeah,
So that's a pretty classic calling someone, not in English. We would never say my life, hand me the phone. But in other languages, it's very popular.
yeah. I need
And
to do more Arabic.
yeah, Arabic's beautiful.
It's such a great language for poetry and for these terms.
Mm, yeah. Oh my gosh. Arabic poetry is on another level. And we
Mhm.
should mention when you write Arabic in Latin script, you have numbers. So the last example, Ya Omri, has the number 3. So I know you were like, why are they writing with numbers? But it's to show different sounds. So Arabic speakers are very used to this when they type things out if they're using the Latin script.
Mhm.
They just have these certain numbers that
Yeah.
represent their sounds. So that's a whole nother topic.
Then we have, I'll try it in Italian, which is tesoro.
Mm-hmm. Scarbia. And the last one's Gaelic. These are all to mean treasure. And astor, I don't know how to.
I don't, but I will deflect from it by including that in Polish. If you could say skarbia, but you could also say skarbku, skarbeczku, skarbiku, skarbiczku, skarbenku, skarbuniu, skarbusiu, skarbuszku, skarbuś.
I'm learning
The
so
last
much.
one probably is it's more masculine. The other one's maybe feminine, but also neutral.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another example of Polish love of diminutives.
So many. It's so rich.
Yeah.
All right. So that is the first category, which we decided to call the classic ones. As you could see, they were the same words used in a lot of different languages and just kind of, most of them are kind of neutral.
Not necessarily the case from here on out.
Right. And these might not be, sometimes they're the most classic, like kochanie was the first diminutive I learned for Polish. Before I had kids, I didn't use anything but that, interestingly. But then when you have kids, I don't know, I just heard more and used more. These next ones, they get a little more specific. So the first category is going to be animals.
I'm pretty sure in Polish you can use just about any animal, and someone probably has. But we'll start. We'll give a little nod to British English by saying that, as we've mentioned, duck, but you could also say ducky or hen.
Hen. Well, and that's probably just to women, but I'm not positive. And in Portuguese, let me see if I can pronounce this. Ursolina means my little bear. So that's a cute one.
Yeah. And then in German, you could say Mäusebeer, which means a mouse bear. They're cute and adorable, but also you want to cuddle with them like a bear.
Mouse bear. That's definitely pretty unique. Although German likes to combine words, right? That's pretty typical.
I guess that's another example of that.
Yeah.
Right. Zaya, which is Russian for a hare, or a rabbit.
One is in Thai, and I will do my best. Chang Noi, which means little elephant. And that's interesting because, right, there's a lot of elephants in Thailand. So kind of makes sense. The animals you see are the animals that you're going to use. So like elephant in Thailand, hares in Russia.
Yeah.
Mouse and bear. I mean, that's a really interesting combination, but I'm sure you would see those in Germany.
Yeah. And I mean, in Polish, we do that as well, where we could say Mishu, which almost is more like Pooh Bear or like teddy bear.
Yeah, like
so you could say, Mishu, Mishaku, Mishaczku, Mishku, Mishushu.
Because there's a different word for bear. There's the niedźwiedź, which is like a bear. But kids learn the word mish. It's shorter.
Yes. Yeah. First. And also all the kid cartoon characters that are bears, they're all mish. They're all mished. They're not niedźwiedzie.
Yeah, niedźwiedź is like scary sounding, like an actual bear you would find in the woods.
Yes. But we could also say in Polish, some other ones that people use are kotku, which is a kitten, or rybko, which is a fish. And then maybe you use this one, tygrysku. Do you use that one?
No, I've never called my kids tygrysku. I should. They're wild like tigers, but so these are all like little animal. And mishko, sometimes I say that, which is little mouse to my daughter. So animals is one category, but a second category, bugs. We didn't have as many, but there's some good ones. The classic for French, the classic example is ma puce, which is my flea.
That's
And
an
I
interesting one.
don't have a good explanation for that. It just is.
But Hungarian has your back by saying bagarkam, which is like my little bug,
Yeah.
or perhaps even beetle.
Yep. And Spanish also uses the word bicho, which is bug. That's, I mean, at last, that one at least sounds kind of cute.
And then Polish also uses it by saying robaczku, little bug.
Yeah,
and
I've never heard anyone say that, but I did see it on a television series when I was, first learning, and we were watching a series, and I was like, did she just call him a bug? And the kids were in an orphanage, so I was like, wait a minute.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like I was
I can see how
confused.
you will. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could think of it as being a negative term.
Yeah, like she was a worker in the orphanage, and like,
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what?
Well, yes.
And he was like,
But
no,
yeah.
it just means my little bug. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
is that a good thing?
Right. So even if you translate it, that doesn't help. If you're like, no, it just means my little bug. So that still leaves you with questions if you're an English speaker.
Exactly. Okay, let's move on to body parts, because there's a lot of these.
Yeah.
Are we just narcissistic that we're gonna like use our body as I don't know, this is kind of a weird,
But maybe because it's important to us. So if you say to someone, corazón,
yeah, my heart,
yeah,
or mon cœur in French is also my heart. Like you are my heart. You're the most important. Yeah, the most important thing. I need my heart to live.
Yes, so that's important to you, and also it's not surprising considering the connection between heart and perceived love, and or
true.
I mean, as a representation of love.
Very true.
So yeah, so you could say serduszko in Polish, and also 7 other ways. We don't have to do all of those again.
No, you can say this. Another related, well, kind of related, that we need to live is mon souffle. So in French, my breath. Yeah, I've never heard that one, but again, I have not had a lot of romantic experience in France. Moving on.
Arabic gives, and I wish I could.
I'll try and do these if you'd like.
But yeah, I really like these.
All right, so these are they're very poetic. So Interuch Albi, or Kalbi, depending on where you what region. So Inta is you, Ruch is like the soul, and then Albi or Kalbi is my heart. So you are the soul of my heart.
That's just beautiful.
Yeah. Aruach, you are my veins. So again, vital. And again, I haven't studied Arabic in a while, and I'm reading the transliteration, so I apologize if I'm butchering these. And Inta nur ayuni, so you are the light of my eyes.
In the balcony scene of Romeo and Juliet, doesn't he? He compares Juliet to like the 2 bright stars in the sky, like they don't shine as brightly as your eyes. So it's a similar idea. Yeah,
except we lost it centuries ago, and Arabic has kept it well and alive.
Yeah, I can't quite quote it off the top of my head as well.
Actually,
as I want to.
All of these examples almost are from Arabic, so they're very fond of this category. So this one was interesting. And Habibi Kalbi or Habibi Albi. So that's like the love of my heart. So you can combine, all these different words, different ways.
Really interesting.
And then Gaelic has my pulse, but we can try our best to say this.
No.
Gaelic isn't pronounced the way it's written, but Gaelic says my pulse, which is similar to veins, which is vital for life. So these are all very nice. It's not like you're calling someone my stomach or something. It's all the nice body parts.
Żołądku mój. Is it just Polish, or do we say it in English too? That's the issue I get sometimes, is that expressions, I think they're in one language, but they're actually in the other.
Oh, yeah.
But in Polish we say przez żołądek do serca, so through the stomach to the heart.
The way to a man's stomach is through his heart.
Yeah, there it is. I thought
we say it specifically about men, like meaning women, like you need to learn how to cook to feed your husband or something. I don't know. Yeah,
but we think Polish just sounds more equal, but it's actually even less equal because it's just so understood that it's about.
They don't even have to specify.
Man. You don't even have to specifically say a man's stomach. It's obvious. So yeah.
Right. So food is our next category, and this one's also pretty rich. No pun intended.
Huh.
right? We say rich food. Food tastes rich, right? Or is that
I
just in
knew where you're
Spanish?
going with that. No,
Is that
that's how I thought of it.
like la comida es rica? Like, yeah, you can say this about food, right? It's rich. It's like
Yeah, in English we
full
do.
of
Not in
taste.
yeah. In
Okay.
Polish you wouldn't say it like that.
No, never.
Although you would say like if it's bogate jedzenie, that would imply like a variety of foods.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So
Well,
yeah, but honey is one that we
of course.
say in a lot, and then sugar pie.
Sugar
Which
pie. Yeah, this
do
is
you
like,
use that?
well,
I've
there's the
never used
song.
that in my life.
There's that song, Sugar Pie, Honey Bunch. No, you don't know that song?
I know the song. I
I've
don't
just
know
need
that
to
I've
fool
sang
myself.
it.
Well, now I've sung it on the air. Pumpkin is kind of a classic one, and I remember teaching it to my French students, my little French elementary students, and being like, "We say the word pumpkin," and they were like, "What?" Like once I translated,
Yeah.
"Masitui," they're like, "What?"
Masitui.
And I was like, "Well, you guys say weird stuff too." Like,
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine like if somebody tried to say that in Polish, like to someone, moja
yeah,
dynio, my pumpkin, you're my pumpkin. I mean,
yeah,
the word itself just doesn't in Polish, dynia, does
right,
not lend itself to be used as a term of endearment.
yeah. So people might be shocked to hear that pumpkin, but yeah, it's very cute sounding. Like, oh, pumpkin, like what happened? Did you bump your head? Like, yeah, it's totally normal to say.
Yeah.
In Italian, you can say fragolina, and I'm sure I'm butchering that, but my little strawberry. That's cute. I
Fragolina.
like
I
that.
really like that one.
Yeah.
And then in Turkish, you could say, well, I think it's fistic,
Hmm.
but
Yeah, something close to
I
that,
haven't
which
looked it up. Yeah, which is a pistachio,
mhm, it could
which
be prized over there, right?
yeah, I mean, you can see the connection between where the food is coming from and what you call like using that food there.
Hmm.
Pistachio is much more, I think, like much more common than they would be like in Poland.
Hmm.
You don't grow them
Right,
in the
exactly.
area. Yeah,
Another Turkish one was, oh gosh, patlikanim, which
paprikanim.
means my eggplant or my aubergine. Gave this example, said it's more of a pun because there's the word kanim, which literally means my soul, and translated as like darling usually. So people have kind of added this beginning patlikanim just to make it like a joke.
Yeah,
So
I
I
get
found
an
that very
eggplant.
creative.
I like that.
Yeah.
And Finnish, one of my favorite languages, they say muru, which means a breadcrumb,
Mm,
which is also a little sweet,
right.
or a
Very,
little like as in cute.
yeah, it's very
But
small. However, as a mom of two toddlers, that is the last thing I want to call. Like, I'm so sick of breadcrumbs all over my
breadcrumbs all
house.
over the place.
But I always thought it was cabbage because the word chou means cabbage. But
Hmm.
doing research for this, I found out it actually refers to a dessert. The French desserts all have their own name. Like an éclair means a lightning bolt. So like they have names that mean other words. But
Yeah,
people called mon petit chou, they were thinking about the sweet dessert, this pastry, not
right. Okay.
like a head of cabbage. Another French one is mon saucisson, which is my sausage. Again, I'm not a native French speaker, and I haven't heard these used, but I guess the word kind of sounds nice. It has this little
Saucisson.
ring, saucisson, like a little, alliteration going on. So
Yeah, it's not spelled anything like it, but there is
no,
some similarity to sausage in English, like
yeah,
saucisson,
the
sausage.
so, yeah.
Yeah, saucisson. Yeah.
And the Dutch example, dropje, I think that's how they say. I'm pretty sure the ending there is like a diminutive to make little.
Mhm.
Is little licorice, and I
Mm.
hate licorice. Oh,
I was
what
just
about?
gonna ask you because I hate licorice
Yeah,
as
I
well.
detest it.
And then going back to Spanish, you could say frutita, which
Mhm.
means little fruit, which is a nice one. But then
That's
you could
cute.
also say albondiga,
Hmm.
which meatball,
Yeah,
apparently.
I mean, they could be cute and small and delicious,
But meatballs, I
says the
guess you
two
don't want to.
vegetarians.
Yeah, true. You're much more open-minded about meatball, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I've had some good vegetarian meatballs. I guess that's why I'm more
Mm,
open-minded.
okay.
All right, we're
I,
on to our other category because I didn't know what to call these.
what do you call a category that starts with microbino mio, which means my little microbe?
Is Yeah, I mean, it's a bit weird. I guess I
Yeah.
could have put it in the weird category.
Oh, it's
Or
other.
the body. I mean, what is a microbe even?
It's like a tiny organism. But microbe is a good example of a word that travels around because, microbino in Italian, and we say microbe, and in Polish we say microbe.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, it's very
throughout the
international.
yeah. I don't know that you would call someone muy mikrobie in Polish. That would
Yeah.
be interesting.
You guys aren't as poetic as the Italians, I guess.
We just use animals,
Yeah.
any and all of them.
And the next one is mi cielo, which is my sky in Spanish.
And then in Russian they say solnishko, which would mean like my sun.
And we should have put Polish on here. You can say słoneczko.
You can.
I use that a lot, actually.
You can say it in many different ways too.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites, though. So the sun, of course, it gives us light, life, everything. And yeah, for a cold country like Russia and like the northeast part of the US, I love the sun. So I use that one. And in Arabic, they say ya kamar, or for my moon. And I think there are countries that drop the ka. So ya amar, I would guess if I think it's Egypt that drops it, but I'm not positive.
Okay.
So don't quote me on that.
And the moon has been not just in Arabic, but in many other languages as well. It's been used as a source of poetic inspiration for lovers longing out for the moon and whatnot.
Yeah, and you can look at it. You can gaze at the moon longer than the sun. Your eyes will start to hurt. Whereas and nighttime is kind of lonely. During the day, you're busy, but at night, you're just kind of with your thoughts and missing people and
looking at the same moon.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can see how both of those are terms of endearment, but I'm much more drawn to the moon personally. If I had to, even though I'm saying I use my sun a lot more in Polish.
Yeah, well, in Polish we don't use like księżycu.
Yeah, no. First of all, thank God, because that word always trips me up.
Well, that would give you practice.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I would just avoid it. Obviously, this is what my best language learning tip is: to just use a different word. Yeah, avoid the words that are difficult.
Yeah.
Use something else. So I would have just found a different word.
In German, they'll say Liebling, which means favorite.
Like my favorite, my number one. Oh, I like that. It's kind of nice.
And I mean, somehow I seem to remember learning it with the example of beer. So it'd be like, mein Lieblingsbier.
Oh.
But yeah. But
we all know what you did in your travels to Germany.
Yes. Yeah. Drinking ein Maß. Which is like the liter size. Anyway.
Going back to Italian, and I'll do my best. Luce dei miei occhi. That's my guess. Big apologies because that could be totally off, but light of my eyes. So I guess that could have gone with the body. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing the CCHI correctly.
Yeah, I don't remember, so I left it for you.
Oh, thanks. I don't know either. So
Occhi or occhi.
Yeah.
And then probably the favorite German example we have, or maybe second favorite German example we have, which is Schnucki-Putzi, I think, right?
That's adorable.
Which just connects like, words for cute and sweet and smashes them together.
Wow. It just sounds so great, though. I can see why that would be a big hit. Schnucki-Putzi. That's just cute. Okay, we have an Indonesian example. And if you guys listened to the previous episode that we did like this, we cannot pronounce Indonesian. But here we go.
Yes. Yeah.
Buah hatiku, which is fruit of my heart. So I guess these were other because like they combined two things. Like this was body and food. Like I wasn't sure where to put it. So.
Okay. Fruit of my heart.
Yeah. That's nice though. Fruit of my heart. I mean, it's kind of weird. I've never thought about the heart being edible. I don't know.
Fruit is the best dessert anyway. Fruit of my heart. It's a healthy dessert.
Yeah. And we can't really explain why these work in certain languages. It's maybe the sound is nice to them or there's so many other reasons why languages choose to put two words like this together.
Yeah. And then I don't know why I'm deciding to take the Portuguese word, but I think it's paixão. I guess.
Sounds so nice. Yeah.
Which is passion. So that South European passionate blood.
Yeah, I do think of the Portuguese as being very passionate people.
Do you want to take the last one?
No.
You didn't write you didn't include the Russian in the notes. I think it's
Sorry.
so in Russian they also say łapaszka,
Mhm.
unless it's lapachka, but I think it's łapaszka.
Yeah, it depends where I got the notes from. So sometimes they
Yeah.
had the original script, the original,
Yeah.
letters, and sometimes they just had the transliteration, which, yeah, I'm also not a fan of transliteration. I think it's always better to learn the script. And I'm sorry I didn't provide you that's why you were wanting me to read it. Yeah, I guess I could have, but I know you speak Russian and I
So
don't.
that means little paw in Russian.
Yeah, if I try and speak another Slavic language, I end up just speaking Polish. So
Do you remember how to say little paw in Polish?
łapka, łapeczka,
Łapka,
łapuszka.
łapeczka, łapuszka, any of those.
But is that used as a term of endearment? I mean, it is when you say like, come wash your hands, you can say like, chodź umyj łapki.
That is true. They'll say that. I
Yeah.
don't necessarily like it though.
No?
To say to kids, yeah. Say to
Come
kids,
wash
"Come
your
wash your
paws.
paws."
You filthy animal. Come wash your paws.
Well,
Yeah, I use it though,
we
because I don't
use
know.
it in the diminutive though. So, but in the kitchen, if you're trying to get food and your mom
Uh-oh.
pushes your hand away, they'll
Mhm.
say like "Gdzie z łapami?" So like,
Mm.
where are you going with those paws, but using it not in the diminutive.
Yeah,
So you're in trouble when it's not diminutive.
that's so interesting.
I've definitely heard that more.
Yeah. No, I will use the łapki like to the kids just to change it up and rather than like rączki.
I mean,
which
it is cute.
Yeah.
And rączki doesn't sound as cute.
No, I mean it's cuter than ręce. It's the diminutive of that. So
Yeah.
there's too many layers. There's too many. This is like Polish is this crazy onion of never-ending layers of diminutives.
Yeah,
like when I think I've learned them all, there's like, oh no, there's 7 more that come after that.
Sure, 3 of them you just invent on the spot. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that the word łapka, if you forget the meaning for a second, just sounds cuter than the word rączka, I think.
Okay.
But because their meanings are swapped in this,
Example.
opinion of this, yeah.
Before we get back to my discussion with Marcin, I want to say a big thank you to Yoshito, Itai, Eliza, and her husband Arjun, who took the time to send me in some recordings. So I'm going to play those for you now. Thank you all so much. Enjoy.
Hi, Heather. So for endearment expressions in French, you have like mon chaton, which means my kitten, mon poussin, which is my chick, mon canard, which is a bit more rare to be honest, but it means my duck. And the one that I find the most strange is ma puce that you mentioned in your post. Ma puce means my flea. I don't see at all why they had the idea of using this, because it's an insect that's not really cute. Yeah, but these are also 4 terms we have in French.
Hi Heather, it's me. I would love to contribute some terms of endearment in Hebrew. When I first read or heard the message, I thought we were talking about the film, and then I reread it and saw Valentine's Day terms of endearment. There are actually 2 that I can think of. Motek comes from the word matok, which means sweet. So motek, if you're talking to a man, you would say motek, meaning sweetheart, and then if you're talking to a woman, it would be metuka. So there's a difference there in gender and ending and pronunciation. There's also chamud and chamuda. It means dear one. Chamud, if you're referring to a guy, and chamuda if you're referring to a woman, right? To say I love you, since Valentine's Day seems to be the holiday of love, somehow. No, I know how, but it's just interesting how it gets marketed that way. It's if a man speaks to a woman, it's ani ohev otach. Again, ani ohev otach. And if a woman speaks to a man, אני אוהבת אותך. אני אוהבת אותך.
Namaskaram. Hello, my name is Eliza, and I'm from America. My mother tongue is English, and my husband Arjun is from Kerala. His mother tongue is Malayalam. So today, him and I are going to be talking about the terms of endearment that are used in Malayalam. So, Arjun, what are some things that your mom would say to you growing up, or your family members would use?
My mom and dad, they'd call me Mone, of course, Vave. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Mone and Vave.
So Mon is son and Vava is baby. So when we call out to someone, we change it to have an e ending. So it'd be, oh, Mone, everyday, where are you? Or Vave, kaikyono, did you eat? So these are some of the terms of endearment. Now, for more romantic or couples-based terms of endearment, heard is chakra.
Yeah, you call out as chakare. I reckon it means jaggery or something sweet. It's equivalent to sweetheart.
And one that I really like is mutte, which is coming from pearl.
Pearl, yeah.
Yeah. And then there's also one for liver.
Karale.
And but it's not as often used, right?
It's more poetic, and perhaps it was used more often in the past.
Yeah, I think that a lot of languages like Arabic and all have something similar where they have the liver or
Arabic has kibde.
yeah, so
Kidney.
So those are the words that we'd like to share from Malayalam as terms of endearment. Thanks so much for this opportunity. Have a great day.
We are now at the official weird, aka original. So the first one, Yabeiti, my home, my house.
That's a great
that's in
one.
Arabic.
Arabic just has great examples, even if they're ones that we don't associate with, but like they don't have like, like in Polish we'll say bąbelku, which means, little bubble.
Yeah. I was talking with my husband about it and he said it can be a little bit offensive. Like he said he had a teacher call a kid bąbelku in school. And like, when kids are above a certain age, he said it was kind of mean, like, a kid who was like bigger than average.
Yes.
So you have to be careful.
Yes. Yeah. If you're using it for your partner, it might be better than if you're using it for, especially if they're not your own kids.
Exactly. And like, like we would call our daughter that because she was just this chubby little thing. And it was cute. But like, I would say there's a certain age when kids should graduate out of these.
Yeah. And babies are supposed to be round anyway.
Right, exactly.
Bąbelki.
Yeah.
And then we also say brzydalu, which we've kind of covered in the
Why do you call people ugly? Why is that a cute form of endearment?
I guess because of the
like I'm obviously joking, calling you ugly.
Right. It's the irony that you mean the opposite of what it is. So you could say like brzydalu for a man or brzydalku, which is the diminutive form. And then you could say brzydulo, or which is maybe for a woman, but then you could also say like brzydulu, which is definitely a masculine form.
Yeah, it doesn't sound nice. It's getting worse.
But so maybe you have to be really careful with like making sure that somebody is very comfortable with their looks before using that.
Right.
Use them for your partners, not for anyone else.
Yeah, we're just telling you interesting facts. We're not giving you words you should be taking out into the world and using. In this section at least. So Miguel, who was someone I met at the Polyglot Conference and have become friends with, so he is Mexican Spanish, and he gave us the example of mi vieja, which is like my old woman. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting example.
But
he said specifically, you do?
Yeah, stara.
Huh.
Yeah, okay. I don't see it as very cute.
No. So he said you could, refer to like you're referring to your wife in a conversation, like, oh, mi vieja dijo, whatever. Like my wife said I have to do something. Yeah, I don't know.
My old woman. But I feel like in English, if you would say like my old man for your dad, for your father.
True.
But you wouldn't necessarily maybe say it for your husband, but
right, because there's only the one father.
Years. Yeah.
And Spanish also can use the word gordo, gorda, and of course you can make it cuter, like gordito, gordita, which means like a fat person, like fatty, but like it can be nice. Not the
Yeah.
word English fatty is not usually.
No, we can't. We've fat shamed too much in English too. And in Flemish, a language that not only have I not studied, but also not heard.
I think
So
it's like
also,
mijn boleke.
mijn
So
boleke, my
which,
little round thing.
so kind of similar to gordo.
And
And
then
mijn poepje, which is like my little poopsie in Dutch. And people were saying this was very common in Dutch. So it's kind of famous, infamous, I don't know, that they
interesting.
use this word. Yeah. I didn't come across any other languages that use the word for poop in a term of endearment.
As a term of endearment, no. But the Dutch don't stop there because they'll also say, I think it's sietje or sietje,
yeah.
which means like little fart.
That is, yeah. I guess they have a good sense of humor up in the Netherlands, or down in the Netherlands. All right, you studied Danish, so take it away.
I think it's just scat, which means like treasure, which we've had at the beginning, but it also means taxes.
That's maybe just a coincidence. I'm sure they don't mean taxes when they're. But I found that to be an interesting little tidbit of information.
Yeah, I mean, unless they try to mean like you cost me a lot.
Yeah, well, that could be true. I could say that to my children as well. So we did say that Japanese doesn't use these, but at the same time, I found an example, and it was pretty unique. So, tamago gata no kao, something like that, means egg with eyes. So the person who explained this one said it's a very nice compliment because if you have an oval egg-shaped face in Japan, that's seen as a very attractive shape. So you're like an egg with eyes. That's, I guess, very. Yeah, I know the word tamago because of sushi. Sometimes has tamago.
Tamago? Wait, that means egg.
It's like it's just like scrambled egg. It's really good. And my host mom made me this tamago. Yeah, it's just I don't know what they mix, like soy sauce or something in it to make it. It's kind of like an omelet texture.
Okay. So the next one is maybe one of my favorites. Another favorite is the German word Honigkuchenpferd, which literally means honey cake horse. So Honig is the word for honey. Kuchen means cake, and then Pferd is horse.
Wow.
But what's interesting is that Honigkuchen literally means honey cake, but it's gingerbread. So for Christmas, if you're making, I think we make like gingerbread houses, right? Or we buy those, but
or men.
In Germany they'll make gingerbread into the shape of a horse. So it's a holiday treat, and you don't want to eat a sad horse, so you put a smile on the horse. So you can, they'll say like you're smiling like a Honigkuchenpferd. Yeah. So like you're like radiant or happy.
Okay. Yeah. Well, who wouldn't be happy? I mean, who doesn't like gingerbread? Right?
Yeah, makes you think of a favorite holiday treat or tradition. Yeah, you're gonna be happy. It's a good word.
Wonder if there's other terms of endearment, like specifically related to a time of year, a season.
Yeah,
like a holiday. That's very specific.
That made its way into this. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'll try Persian. So let's see. This is mush bahoradet, maybe, means may a mouse eat you. I guess mice are small, so like you must be so small a mouse could eat you. Maybe that's.
I don't know. I haven't heard it. But also an interesting one comes from Tibetan, which is so also I will do what I can. Ningdula. I'm sure that is very far from the pronunciation. It means most honored poison of my heart.
Oh, I was okay with the most honored.
Yeah.
And the heart.
And then my heart is good. Yeah.
Why the poison? Oh, it's like you're killing me. Like, oh.
You're killing me.
Like, yeah, like you're torturing me. I'm so in love with you.
I guess. But also you're very honored.
And we don't have notes if these are like just for, romantic partners or what, but I have a feeling we're getting more into like, you don't use these with your kids.
Yeah.
Maybe.
True. I would say so as well. And
Yeah.
also maybe some of these are, they're not serious in the same way. Like they might be used jokingly.
True.
Um,
Yeah, we don't have the cultural background, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So if you do know what these terms are and we're totally saying nonsense, just write me an email and I will publish something on the next podcast episode.
Mm.
All right, the last one in this category is Baburne, which in Arabic means "may you bury me."
That's incredible.
Yeah, that's deep. And Zaina, who gave me all the Arabic examples, pretty much, I'm pretty sure, I'm going to quote her, said, "This is very indicative of love and even deep passion."
Mm-hmm.
So,
because you're saying I want to spend the rest of my life with you.
yeah, true.
May you bury me.
But like, you could just say that. Like, why do you have to talk about the actual, like, digging the hole, putting me underground?
Well, there's a lot more emotion because there's that very strong negative ending. Like, I don't know, maybe.
I don't know. But if you, want to try these out on the loves of your lives this Valentine's Day, let us know how it goes.
Yeah. And one of my favorite things on this episode is the fun fact we have now is the word bay.
Wait, so explain bay, because this is like a weird new thing in the US that there's lots of people who listen to this podcast that are not from the United States.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about it.
You don't? Okay, so bay is like slang from high schoolers. Before anyone else, I believe, is what the letters quote unquote stand for. So like your bay is like your number one, like your
I didn't know that's what it
you didn't
stands for.
Oh,
I just knew it means like, your
significant other,
your babe.
No, I think it's supposed to mean before anyone else, like the person you put first.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that sounds much better than just saying bae.
Yeah, I thought it was maybe like a, change of babe or something. Like
that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now I like this fun fact a little less because it's kind of cute.
Sorry.
But also, I was telling Heather that inviting me on this episode is kind of like asking Grinch to talk about the joys of Christmas.
Oh.
So I like the way we end. Is that bae is the Danish word for poop.
There you
so
go.
Think of that every time you use it.
Yes, all you teenagers. So we hope that was an interesting dive into a whole bunch of random facts that mean nothing. No, I mean, they mean something. But yeah, we wish everybody a very happy Valentine's Day, however you choose to celebrate, and be safe, of course.
Yeah.
We're in a pandemic, people.
But on a happier note, we really hope you do have a great Valentine's Day. So to wrap up, we thought we could say the phrase "I love you" in a bunch of different languages.
Oh gosh. Or try.
Okay. In Polish, we say "kocham cię."
Okay. And "te amo" is Spanish.
And then "ti amo" in Italian.
And "je t'aime" in French.
Okay.
I skipped.
I know. In German, they say "ich liebe dich." And then,
In Russian, I know this one. "Я тебя люблю."
Oh, good. Because you didn't even write it in the Latin script.
No, I just know it for some reason.
And then in Turkish, they say "seni seviyorum."
In Korean, it's "사랑해요," which is the standard, not overly polite and not informal.
In Vietnamese, it's "an yuem."
Sounds good. In Japanese, "anata ga desuki desu."
And then in Hindi, it's "main tumse pyar karta hoon."
That sounds really nice.
I hope it's a good approximation.
And I'm going to take Greek. Se agapo.
I like that one. Se agapo.
Yeah, Greek is such a beautiful language.
Yeah. And we also have Javanese as a nod to the Indonesian Javanese false cognates that we had. So I will try. Aku tresna sampean.
And there's so many more languages that we could include, but hey, we don't know them all.
We wanted to give a little overview of a few languages from a few different places.
Yes. So we hope you enjoyed our little episode on terms of endearment and a few ways to say I love you. in different languages. Thank you, Marcin, for all your help.
Yeah, thank you everyone for listening.
All right, that is all for this crazy episode. We hope that it was entertaining and at the least that it brought a smile to your face. If you are enjoying this podcast, please do share it. Please leave us a review, a rating, anything like that is very helpful to help us grow our community. And you guys are so important to us. Having people who listen, people who reach out and let us know that they enjoy the episodes means the world to us. So thank you for that. We really do appreciate it. And we wish everyone a great weekend, a great rest of February, and we'll be back with another episode soon. Take care.